Honey Bear, Honey Bees, written and illustrated by Phoenix Rose. Honey Bear, Honey Bees, copyright 2025. Author and illustrator Phoenix Rose, all rights reserved. Narrated by Phoenix Rose. On the right side of a sandbox, there is a meadow with a large man-made bees box that looks like a high-rise condo. There is a colony of bees swarming around the hive. Inside the box, there is a queen bee. She is the leader of all the other killer bees. She summons her army. The army of killer bees have two types of bees, worker bees and drones. They help the killer queen bee by protecting her, grooming her, and searching for food and sticky goo for their hive. Inside the hive, the killer worker bees and drones come up to get their orders from their queen. One by one, the queen bee reminds the servant bees of their duties by yelling harsh criticisms and by warning them that nasty consequences will happen if they don't go out to find more gardens where they can take pollen and goo from unsuspecting flowers. The queen bee decides to send the drones and worker bees off into a storm without any food. She warns the killer bees to be careful while they are out because they may encounter mean bears. Oh no. Close by the meadow, there is a bear cub named Honey Bear playing in a sandbox. The cub is giggling, smiling, and building a sandcastle. Honey Bear thinks for a moment, looks around, and spies his water bottle. Honey gets an idea. The cub starts to laugh and dig a moat around the castle. Then Honey Bear reaches for the bottle and pours the water into the moat. Honey Bear is proud of his creation and stands up to dance and celebrate. Storm clouds roll in and block the sun. The wind blows and breaks some small branches off of a nearby oak tree. The twigs fall to the ground. Higher up, hanging in one of the branches of the tree, a honeybee hive rocks in the wind. The honeybees all hunker down in their hive just to be safe. All of a sudden, from the meadow down yonder, a swarm of killer bees fly over to Honey Bear and surround it. One killer bee whispers cruel things into Honey Bear's ear. Who do you think you are, an architect? Another killer bee buzzes, this castle will never survive out here. Honey Bear is afraid of the killer bees and frantically waves them off. Honey Bear says, leave me alone. The killer bees wail with excitement of the group think. One bee says, you are nothing. Another bee says, who said you could be here anyway? This is our territory. As Honey tries to get away from the bees, the bear stands up and swings its paws, shooing the killer bees away. The buzzing of the negative comments get louder and louder inside Honey Bear's ears and head. One bee named Venom says, you are a dirty, mean old bear. Then Venom stings the bear as it exclaims, you bully! Honey Bear cries out in pain. Ouch, that hurt. Honey then falls to the ground and destroys the castle and moat by accident. The killer bees buzz with delight, almost laughing at the bear. The colony of bees make a beeline for the flower bed by Honey Bear's home. Honey stands up looking devastated at the muddy mess. Honey rubs its paw and plops down to nurse its wound. Honey Bear has a red spot where the killer bee stung its paw. The bear looks closely and sees a stinger sticking out. The bear plucks it out and sets it on the sideboard of the sandbox. At the corner of the sandbox, a killer bee sputters and flops down into the sand. It's Venom. Venom can no longer buzz or fly because the bee has lost its stinger. Honey Bear goes over to investigate. Venom is not moving. Honey Bear tries to paw Venom to see if the bee would breathe, but it's useless. Honey Bear cries a few tears and says, "I'm so sorry, but I didn't know why you were trying to hurt me. I didn't mean for this to happen." All of a sudden, a teardrop falls onto Venom's body, and the bee comes back to life. Venom takes a deep breath and whispers its last words. "I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to protect myself. The queen bee told us that bears were mean." Venom's body falls lifeless. Honey Bear covers Venom up with some sand and picks a small wildflower from outside the sandbox and lays it on the grave. Honey Bear remembers the killer bee's voice from earlier. "You're a dirty, mean old bear." Honey Bear is saddened. A small distance from the sandbox is a big old oak tree with a natural beehive hanging from a branch. Inside the beehive there is a colony of bees swarming. One bee is their queen bee. She is the leader of all the other honey bees. The other bees are called worker bees and drones, and they help the honey queen bee by protecting her, grooming her, and collecting food and sticky stuff from the happy flowers who are always willing to share. The queen bee buzzes her signal for all the worker bees and drones to come over to feed and groom her. "Come, my honeybees, come." For their service, she whispers sweet encouragements and scenic directions to a garden where they can find beautiful flowers with sweet pollen and sticky stuff. The honey queen bee sends the drones and worker bees out with a sweet taste of honey in their bellies. The queen bee reminds them to be curious of the creatures they may encounter, as they may even see some bears. Oh no, not again. Just then, the sun comes back out and Honey Bear starts to play in the sand again. Because the sand is wet from the water, it sticks together better. Honey Bear roars with delight and begins to build a bigger and better castle, while getting a little dirtier too. Just then, the honeybees come out of their hive. They see Honey Bear playing. They fly over to greet the bear. Honey Bear, just having a run-in with the killer bees, gets scared and starts waving its arms and saying, "Leave me alone. I don't want to hurt you." The honeybees are startled and back away. One bee says, "Hey there, honey bear. You don't need to be afraid. We are honeybees and we don't want to hurt you." The honeybees fly over to investigate the castle. They whisper sweet nothings into Honey Bear's ears. One honeybee whispers, "Wow, that is a beautiful castle." Another honeybee buzzes, "How are you going to landscape it?" Honey calms down and looks at his castle. The words, "That is a beautiful castle," rings through its head. Honey looks around as the honeybees make their way to the flower bed by Honey's home. Honey watches the bees as they leave. Honey Bear spies some twigs on the ground that were knocked down by the wind. Honey Bear gets an idea. Honey jumps up and howls in delight, "That's it!" Honey Bear runs around, picks up the broken twigs with leaves still attached, and takes them back to the sandbox. Honey plops down by the castle and separates the branches one by one, and then sticks them into the sand. Soon enough, the castle looks beautiful with its own makeshift trees. Honey Bear admires the work. Suddenly, the sun goes behind some clouds. It gets dark. The door to Honey Bear's home opens in a flash, like lightning. Mama Bear steps out calling, "Honey, it's dinner." Honey replies, "Okay, but come look. Look what I built." Mama replies, "No, honey, get in here now. Who do you think you are, an architect? Now go clean up for dinner. You are dirty." Honey hangs his head saying, "Aw, Mom." Honey gets up and walks over to the door and then remembers the honeybee's words. That is a beautiful castle. Honey looks up and says to Mama Bear, "My castle is beautiful. Maybe I am an architect. Just you wait and see." The sun instantly pops out from behind the clouds and sends its beautiful rays of light down to the sandbox, making the castle glow like gold. Mama Bear holds the door open while guiding Honey Bear's head in through the door. Mama turns back to look at the sandbox and exclaims, "Oh, honey, now that I can see your castle in the sunlight, it is beautiful." The door closes as Mama Bear exclaims, "Hey, Papa Bear, we have ourselves an architect." Honey Bear smiles with joy, owning the title of an architect. Honey then exclaims, "Wow, all that building has made me hungry." The end.